When you have a frozen sewer vent, use the Sewer Skewer. It fits any size vent and can be left in year-round, so it's one and done when it comes to installation, making it so easy to protect your farm, ranch, or home. Visit sewerskewer.com to see their many locations.
Good to see everyone today. I hope everyone had an outstanding Christmas and New Year's. Exciting time. Finally game week, and I know our players and coaches are excited to get this one going this week. We're chomping at the bit a little bit finally to look at the calendar and know that you could count it down, our practices, one hand rather than two. And we've had a great winter camp so far. Our players have been attentive. We're getting healthy. We've had some outstanding work. Our young kids have really taken this time to work hard on continuing to improve themselves, not only in the weight room but on the football field as well. We're going to play an outstanding football team here in a few days, in a little bit under a week. JMU has a roster loaded with talent. They're well coached. You can see that when you watch them on film. They have a number of different playmakers on both sides of the football. Of course, it all starts on the offensive side with their quarterback, Ben DiNucci, as good a quarterback that's probably out there in the FCS level, maybe in the country. Unbelievably efficient with the football, doesn't turn it over, can continue to extend plays with his feet, find receivers downfield, and that'll be a huge challenge for us to keep him contained, but also their run game. They have an outstanding offensive line, veteran group, 3 juniors, 2 seniors, and that'll be a huge challenge for Code Green as we get into the game. Defensively, starts with their 2 defensive ends, Carter and Dooku, excellent football players, difference makers, TFLs, sacks, pressure on the quarterback. The Rams are going to have to play, if not their best, one of their best football games this year. And then, some other names that jump out. Landon Word, the number 52 middle linebacker for them, seems to be all over the place. They have a safety, number 24, D'Angelo Amos, a great punt returner, great safety. So you look at their personnel, there's not a lot of holes out there. But you expect that when you're playing for a national championship, and that's only forced our players to have greater focus this week, knowing that we're playing, probably the best football team in the country. We have to be ready to go. With that, I'll open it up to questions.
They're number 1 in rushing defense. Why do you think that is, and how do you attack something like that?
Well, I think, one, that they're extremely sound in what they do. They haven't shown to do a whole lot defensively. They're a underfield team. They play a little bit of quarters. They're going to bring some 5-man pressure. They do a little bit of 4-man pressure where they drop the DN. But I think they keep it relatively simple, and they try to let their kids play fast, have adjustments in games, and they make good tackles. They're a good tackling football team, and I think they're a veteran group that has played together for a while. I thought I heard Coach Signetti the other day say they have 7 or 8 sixth-year seniors on their football team. That leadership right there in itself has to play huge dividends, and they got some outstanding seniors on defense.
They look like anybody you played defensively this season?
I think some of their personnel might make you think about Illinois State and or University of Northern Iowa. I think there's some similarities just with the personnel, not necessarily the scheme, but the types of players that each university has compared to JMU.
Anything that you learned that maybe you weren't expecting when going through the film over the last couple of weeks?
No, of course, with new coordinators, it was all kind of new to a certain extent. Just seeing what they were going to do offensively. I hadn't looked at them at all during the course of the season. My number one concern was the Bison and whoever the opponent was that week. Just seeing how they have changed slightly, from who they were the last time we played them in 2017. They were more of an over cover 1 team. They do more defensively now. Offensively, they're still going to operate out of 11. They'll get into some 10 personnel. They'll try to cross personnel you a little bit because they have some very skilled tight ends. Of course, Riley Stapleton, who's the wide receiver, but then Dylan Stapleton, his brother, is an outstanding tight end.
When it comes to preparing, especially when you're changing scenery, how familiar from years past is it to have that help?
Well, you're referring to the having been down there before.
Yeah.
It's a little different just because the makeup of our football team, with only 14 seniors and the number of young players that we have on the football team, there's a wide variety of guys who have never played actually in the venue. They've been there, they've seen it. I guess to a certain extent that's comforting, but at the end of the day, you still have to execute between the yard lines.
So how does leadership on the team help with that? aspect of it?
Oh, I'm sure those guys have had conversations, continue to talk. Right now our seniors are making sure that we just have great practice. Our coaches are making sure that our scout team continues to give us great looks. It is going to be the only game that we'll play all year. Probably the last couple of years that's been on grass. But what I say to the players is, you grew up playing on grass. It shouldn't be a big deal.
You think about the last 2 weeks that you guys have had, how valuable is this time? Nobody else on campus, no classwork, just football. It's kind of like fall camp .2 for you.
It is. Our kids refer to it as winter camp. It's enjoyable. You take some of the other distractions out of there. It is football just every day. At the same time, we try to give them enough time to get away from coaches, get away from the facility, so they can enjoy it a little bit. You got to remember, we are taking up every other college student in the country right now is relaxing or hanging out with friends, and these guys have been practicing since the 1st of August, and that creates some challenges. What we tell our incoming freshmen is our seasons are long here, and those guys are living it right now. But it's been good. It's been really good. The calendar kind of threw a different little makeup than maybe what we were used to, but we seem to work through it. And I know it's been really good for our young guys, our developmental guys. They've been able to continue to be in the weight room, continue to work with Coach Kramer, so that way those guys are ready for spring ball, which isn't really that far away.
Where have you seen maybe the biggest growth in your guys in these last 2 weeks? Not just those young guys, which I know this is a big part for them, but the guys who are going to be on the field. Are they continuing to learn, develop, and be ready for their best football game yet?
Oh, I think they continue. One is health. Everyone's getting healthy. Everyone has fresh legs, so we can execute at maybe at a little bit faster pace. We need to just when you look at our opponent. But I think there's plenty of reps where guys who we're going to count on are continuing to get better. And just the more football you play, you have a tendency to get better. So I know guys like Jazir Cox are getting so many reps for us that over winter break that he's going to continue to help us. Costner Chang, who just moved to defensive tackle, he needs these reps still. There's other guys, Jalen Sundell, who's a backup on the offensive line, but these reps are unbelievably critical for his development and for us as a football team to make sure that we have the depth necessary to win football games.
You mentioned health. Do you anticipate having Josh Hayes available on any other kind of injury news?
Josh Hayes has been practicing all winter camp, so he'll be available. Phoenix Sproles is practicing, so he's going to continue to be available. We're going to be as close to full speed as possible.
Abu?
No. He will not. We will hopefully be applying for a medical redshirt for him to get another year.
Jalen Bussey, you imagine, make the 63 to dress on Saturday?
He will not. We had a X-ray this week, and unfortunately, I don't think that finger is recovered quite where we want it yet.
From the head coach's spot, though, the 3 weeks, is that too long and just right? And what's your biggest concern coming off a 3-week break and playing another game?
Well, I'll answer the second part of your question first. You're always concerned about sharpness. You're going through reps, but practice reps aren't like game reps. And so, can you mimic the speed? Can you mimic the tempo of the game? That's always a concern. Just like you'd have that concern week one going into your first week of the season. You practice at a certain level. You can't practice at game level all the time. My concern, it's been good. I liked our previous schedules, where you could practice for a couple of days, take a break off, and then come back and return to practice. We gave our players a number of days off. Not that it's been long, but I can tell they're itching to get to Texas and to get to the game right now. It is a lot like fall camp as far as the anticipation of the game that's coming up.
Speaking of the long season, was there a point where you saw some of the young guys hit a wall this year? I mean, some guys have not played 15 or 16 games in a year and done all that.
There is, generally around the 1st of November. I think that's kind of been my experience as a coordinator and now as a head football coach. You look at the calendar, a lot of the high school or a lot of the young guys who are on the football team were probably ending their season or ramping their season up for playoffs about November 1st. And they look at our calendar, and we have 4 more regular season games, and then whatever may happen after that. But they've done a really good job, and getting a bye in the playoffs was critical for them. Getting a little bit of time away over the holidays was critical for those guys as well. But they continue to give us great looks. These extra reps are going to serve them well once we get to spring ball and into 2020. I would never give up these practices, of course.
Any special discussions or meetings with Trey because it's going into the national championship game as a freshman, he's obviously not been there before, or is it just same old with
We've just kind of the company line. We've just been doing our thing and following our process to get everyone ready. Haven't really addressed it. He's done such a great job as the years gone on, this season in particular, of staying humble, of keeping himself grounded, that I don't think anyone envisions him getting overexcited. He's excited to play and compete, because that's what he likes to do, and that's who he is. But he'll be ready to go, and I don't think we need to make a bigger deal of it than it is.
Did you see him lag at all during the season? Speaking of young guy playing.
You talking about Trey Lance?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think he went about his business every week. There was probably weeks that maybe he didn't feel as well as he wished he would have from a physical standpoint. But as far as the execution side of it or knowing a game plan, there was never a week that I was ever in doubt.
Matt, what's it mean for this year's team to have a chance to go undefeated for this year's squad?
I think that's pretty special. It doesn't matter if it's this year's team, last year, wherever. There's very few teams in the country that go undefeated. So you could probably count them on one hand, the Division I teams. When you start looking at all 250 roughly of them, there's not very many out there. And so when you have an opportunity to do that, we need to take advantage of it. I know, again, we're playing an unbelievably talented football team, and we'll have our work cut out for us.
Braylon Henderson's got 4 games. You have to decide a 5th game. Is that a situation where you could dress him and not play him, or if a guy like that dresses just because of the roster size, you pretty much have to play?
You talking about Braylon Henderson?
Yeah, Braylon Henderson.
We won't dress him. Here's my concern: someone accidentally grabs him and throws him out there. And I had a conversation with Braylon. We could dress you for 1 game, but I'd rather dress you for 12 more games to make sure when you're a redshirt senior. And I think that value outweighs the 1 game. I know it's in his hometown, and I appreciate his parents and his family understanding where we're coming from, but that's essentially what he would be giving up to play a 5th game. Is he's going to lose a season somewhere, and I don't think the costs outweigh the benefits of sitting him this week.
Did he fight that at all?
No, not at all. It tells me a kid's starting to become a Bison.
Matt, the redshirt rule second year around, was there anything that you would like to change within the redshirt rule in terms of having more than just 4 games, or did you guys use an advantage of the second time with the redshirt rule? Personally
speaking, if I could sit in those rules meeting, I would ask for just 5 years of eligibility, and let's quit keeping track of it, and let's just if they're good enough to play, they're good enough to play. I don't know if it would affect us greatly. I think we maximize the rule. I think we do a really good job of managing it. You're still not going to see D linemen or O linemen play at NDSU, but you might see a Braylon Henderson playing a few more games. You might see a Jacob Lippy playing a few more. But usually come conference season, we know who's going to be good enough to play for us, and that's one of the benefits of having all our freshmen here over the course of the summer as well. Is probably by the start of fall camp, we have a pretty good idea of who can help us as well, just because of the feedback we get from our strength staff, the ability to have some access time with our kids in the summer. So that in itself gives us kind of a jump start on who we can use and when we can use them.
Anything you guys are going to do differently once you get to Texas, or is that another, if it's not broke, don't fix it type of deal?
You talking about our schedule?
Yeah.
The only thing that's a slightly different, I think we're going to do a second community service project down there. Of course, we always do the Miracle League, which our entire football team will attend. There's also a reading event to a local elementary school, I believe, and I think we're going to send half dozen to a dozen freshmen down there.
How has this been different, managing this as the head coach as opposed to a coordinator, and you made calls to Chris Kleiman or former head coaches to maybe get a little insight or help in managing these 3 weeks?
I've talked to Chris a couple times. Of course, Coach Kleiman had his own game he needed to worry about, and I think we talked more about triple option defense than we did our schedule at down in Texas. But have visited with him a little bit. Craig Bull stopped by the office here a couple weeks ago, and I was able to pick his brain briefly while he was coming through on a recruiting trip. So you can't find 2 better guys to ask about or ask about this event. But we're gonna keep the schedule relatively the same. I don't think there's any reason to adjust it. Of course, weather can always throw a curveball at you, and it looks like there's a chance for some showers on both Thursday and Friday, and maybe on Saturday. But if so, we have a dry place where we can practice, and we'll utilize that facility if need be.
I know Shore kept you up the 2 years you played him. Is Danucci keeping you up as well? Is he a similar quarterback, or are they two totally different guys?
No, I think there's some similarities to it. Very, very efficient with the football, and I think if I were to say he manages the game well, that would be a knock against him. He's better than that. He makes plays. He knows where and when he wants to get the football. He sees things pre-snap. He knows the reads. He understands defense, and then he does have the ability to extend plays, and that was where Shore was extremely talented. Not only having got to play him twice, got to see it a couple different times. We're going to make sure that we have a good plan in place to try to keep him in the pocket, and hopefully our defensive line and if it's a backer or a safety or whomever, we're up to the challenge. But he's a really good football player.
What does Brandon Polk bring to their team? Number three.
Number three.
Transferred in, yeah.
Yep. Outstanding wide receiver. Great speed. Can play in the slot. Can make you miss. They'll run some double moves with them, and so it causes a matchup problem a little bit. Sometimes we have Jabril to the field, and that could be potentially a matchup during the course of the day. It's a concerning one, and so are we going to play quarters? Are we going to play bracket coverage? How are we going to try to in and out a receiver of that skill? But if you do that, then they got Riley Stapleton at the X. Now you're leaving him by himself. So you got to be really careful about how you're going to pick and choose when you're going to try to roll your coverage to the field, keep your coverage rolled back to the X. They do some unique things in 3x1, and they have some really good talent.
Do they run him much, like with jet sweep?
They've done some things with him as well, and that's always a concern, just because of his ability to run and his speed.
Jabril Cox spent a lot of the 2017 game following Bryant Shore around and causing him problems. Is that something we could see on Saturday, or more likely to be detached?
I think we're going to use Jabril in the best way that we can. And I think, to me, he's one of the best slot area defenders in the country. He needs to be an impact for us. He has been all year. I guarantee we've played 15 teams that know exactly where number 42 is lined up at. But he needs to play his best game. And, I want to see our best players play their best when we're playing great competition. So that's my challenge to Jabril. But we're going to utilize him a number of different ways during the course of Saturday.
You've used him in a lot of different ways throughout this season. Had the chance to talk to Coach Olson a little bit about him in all those different ways. Can you just re-emphasize how valuable he's been as a player that, like you said, everybody knows where he is on the field? He still plays such a huge impact for this team.
Well, he does, because his ability, or as he's gained knowledge over the course of the last couple of years and just a better understanding of what we do defensively, it's enabled us to move him to Will, to Mike, to a defensive end position on third down, because he has an unbelievable skill set. And we're trying to take advantage of it as long as we can. Jabril has 1 year left with us. We're going to make sure we use him up as much as we can, because he's a special young man. He's a great kid. He's going to graduate in May. He's done everything we've asked, and he continues to produce on the football field. So really pleased with how Coach Olson and our defensive staff have been able to try to create some mismatches with Jabril. I think he does do that from a defensive perspective, and so we'll try to continue to do that, and hopefully we can get him to make some plays on Saturday.
And how about his selflessness? He's done a lot of things this year that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, not the kind of guy who's affected by that.
I think you could say that about 99% of our kids.
That's not what I wanted to say.
I know you didn't want me to say that, but he's just about playing football and playing with his buddies, and that's the number one thing that Jabril's concerned about, is making sure he has a smile on his face every day. As long as we're playing good defense and we're winning football games, I think those are the things that Jabril's most concerned about, which as a head football coach you enjoy talking about kids like that or in that role. But he's done a great job of developing himself, because as all of you know, high school quarterback. and played very sparingly on the defensive side. And I understand why. He never wanted to get hurt on that side in high school, but didn't play much as a junior because of an ACL tear. Came back, had an unbelievable senior year, and to make the conversion to linebacker and do it in the way he's done it, I think says a lot about his willingness to learn and to grow, but also his desire to be, or his desire to help the Bison be the best.
Is DiNucci one of those quarterbacks where when you rush him, you're really worried about the lanes, or is it just kind of get upfield and go?
No, I'm definitely concerned about the lanes and his ability to take off. You watched the Villanova game. He took off straight downhill and attacked him through the A-gap. I'm worried about him outflanking us and finding guys downfield. So we got to do a good job having secondary contain rules. They do some sprint out, which I think just becomes another method for them to have a little bit of dual threat, where if no one's open, I'll just take off and go. So we got to be at our best to make sure we can get him defended and get him pulled up, and hopefully we can make him throw some errant throws.
How important is it to how important is it to establish a ground attack against a team that stops the run well?
Well, it's going to be critical for us to stay on the field and to get some third down conversions, get into some third and shorts. The only way for us to do that and do it effectively, I think, over the course of a game is to be able to run the football. So it's going to be a challenge. Believe me, our offensive line and our offensive staff understand the caliber of defense that they're playing. But at the same time, I think we've done a good job all year of being able to run the football, and We'll attack them where we think we can. We think we have a good game plan set up right now. But, we need to be able to run the football. We need to establish that early during the course of the game.
Jabril's graduating. Is he coming back? That chatter's out there.
I anticipate he is. I know we're excited about we've already talked about next year, and I know he's living with a bunch of guys on the team. So as far as I'm concerned, he's a Bison.
Matt, can you comment that Marquise Bridges and Josh Hayes, their first career start came in the national championship game, about them being thrown to the deep end and what they had to face that game?
I can't comment about that. It was a nerve-wracking couple 2-3 weeks there. All of a sudden, you're in the semifinal game and you lose both your corners, and you look down the sideline and there's a couple freshmen looking at you back. But it tells you the type of competitors those guys are to step up. Both of them made big plays. If I remember right, Josh may have forced a fumble. Marquise had an interception in that game. I mean, two great players. And it is kind of, all of a sudden, here we are 2 years later playing the same opponent, and we still got the same corners. That's exciting for us. I know those guys will be ready to go and are really excited. They understand the caliber of receivers that these guys have. And they it's different receivers. I mean, Riley Stapleton can stretch you, but he's 6'5", 230 pounds. He's such a huge target for him, huge catch radius. And then, we talked about Polk earlier, just a smaller slot type guy who can, catch it, make a move, and he can be gone as well. So, we're going to see it all from James Madison.
Not to pay attention to such things, but you guys are underdogs in this game according to some of the betting sites out there, which is an odd position for NDSU to be in. Any knowledge of that?
I haven't paid any attention. You're the first person that's told me. I'm sure other people out there are fully aware of it. I thought we were underdogs every week, guys.
Ty, can you describe the emotions of this game that 2 years ago you couldn't play against James Madison? Was there a little burn in the back of your mind saying, I'd love to get back and play them since you didn't have a chance a couple years ago?
Oh, yeah, I felt like that year was pretty tough sitting out the national championship. Regardless of who the opponent is, though, we're going to be ready to go. I know I'm ready to go. It's our last game as seniors that we're ever going to play in the green and gold. So it's just we're all ready to go. It's been a long time since we played football.
Ben, how has this last couple of weeks been? I know Coach said you guys call it winter camp. I keep thinking of, you guys have no classmates, no school, nothing but football to focus on. How have you guys used this time, and how have you seen your teammates continue to develop?
It's kind of a dream come true. You don't have to do any schoolwork or any tests or anything like that. So it's been a good time. We do a lot of young guy stuff, so getting those young guys developed a little bit, but then also working on our game plan and things like that. And so we've been working on our game plan for 2 weeks now. I think we're ready to go, and it should be a good one.
Burning desire to get out there, kind of that same angst you guys all have during fall camp to get out there and hit somebody.
Right, it's kind of like the first time playing again. And, yep.
James, they got a quarterback that poses a lot of problems in DiNucci. Obviously, on the defensive side, you guys are going to be preparing for him. What have you seen on film from what he does?
I think he spreads the ball around really well. Definitely better than anybody we've seen this year. He's extremely accurate and confident, so he's got a couple weapons on the edge, a good tight end, and he's got good backs to get it to. I think he just distributes the ball and runs our offense really, really well, really efficiently, and that's what's going to be our biggest thing is in the back end. We got to make him uncomfortable, get disguises, show him pictures that he's not used to, and then hopefully our D-line can get going like they always do.
Todd, can you compare the explosiveness of this team? You know, this is your fifth year. Compare that to the other 4 years. Most explosive, or
Our team or their team?
your team right now?
Oh, yeah, I feel like we got playmakers all over the field. I feel like this year we've done a great job of getting the wide receivers the ball, just in the jet sweeps and all of that stuff. You've seen Christian, Phoenix, all of those guys make plays. And our young guys are stepping up, too. I feel like after we're long gone, NDSU is still going to be really explosive, so it's nice to see.
Trey, you're taking on the number 1 rush defense in the nation this week. I know you guys take on your own defense every week, and they're one of the strongest across the board. But how do you prepare? What have you kind of seen from them that plays to their strength there?
I feel like they are a really good defense, but we just got to stick to what we know. I don't feel like they've seen a rushing attack or a lineman that our linemen are capable of. So we just got to stick to what we do and come out and play our type of football.
What have you guys learned from the years past? You've had the privilege, the opportunity to take on JMU now 3 of the last 4 years. What have you learned from those experiences that you take forward?
You can't make any moment bigger than it is, you know what I mean? So just go out and play your style of football. Don't overlook anybody. Don't underlook anybody. They're a really good defense, and we're a really good team, too.
Ben, you started defensive ends for James Madison, seemed to be very dynamic. What have you seen from them on film, and do they compare to any other defensive end tandem you've seen this season?
Yeah, like you said, they're very dynamic, very explosive. Their get off, off the line of scrimmage is second to none, and so just being able to, kind of walk them off the ball or take that to them a little bit and make them think a little bit, slow them down a little bit on some of our runs and things like that is going to be important.
James, with the wide receivers, is Polk and Stapleton one of the best 1-2 combos you've seen as a secondary this year going up against them?
Yeah, I think they're really talented. We've seen some good tandems this year, but these guys pose a little bit different of a threat. They both do different things. I think number 3, he's extremely explosive and electric when he gets the ball. A lot like Christian on our team. And then number 10, if they're in a bind or they need to get a first down, they can always just throw it up to him and hope he wins a 50-50 ball. So I think they do a really good job of using both of them to their skill sets, and they're just really, really good players.
James, can you discuss the haircuts? What's the meaning behind that for James' game?
I think it started in the crew chief room, but me and Ben, neither of us can join in the mustache party, so we thought we might as well do something in our last year.
James, with leading up to this weekend, being at Texas before, how familiar is it to have a week like this? We've already been there before going in.
It's routine. As weird as it sounds, it's routine for us. We're going to practice on Wednesday morning. We're going to go down there and we're going to do what we've done the last 4 of the last 5 years, at least for us seniors. And it's not anything out of the ordinary, and we're just used to everything that's gone on this last winter camp, and looking forward to using that to our advantage this week.
James, you mentioned defensive disguises. What are some of the keys to that? Just kind of showing your hand really late in the play clock, or what are you guys going to try to do to make sure that DiNucci isn't just seeing a good picture at the snap and going?
Yeah, kind of what you guys have seen. Anytime we're playing defense, we're always rolling down into something late or showing something and then doing something else completely different. So I think it's just going to be big in the back end to just not tip what we're doing early in the snap count and early in the play clock, so that we're making all these guys think before the ball's snapped and really making them earn every single thing that they get.
Ty, when do you think it's going to hit you? This is the last collegiate football game you're going to play in. Before the game, during, after? When do you think it's going to click?
Nah, probably after. I'm gonna miss the football part of it. I'm not gonna miss the conditioning. Kramer, yeah, I ain't gonna miss that. But other than that, probably after the game. Probably not even right after the game. It'll probably be a couple weeks after the game, after it sets in.
When you had the big run last year against Eastern Washington, how good did that feel after not playing the year before to have a run like that in a championship game?
See, I don't really think of it as like a championship game. It's just another game. I know what I'm capable of. Big plays every time I touch the ball. So it was just kind of routine to me. It's nice to get the crowd on their feet, but it just felt good overall.
I wanted to talk to you this week about your role as a leader on this team and how that's developed over the last couple of years. When did you start to see yourself as a leader, and then the reaction from your teammates as you stepped up into that role?
Yeah, I don't know. I've always been the same since I've been here. I feel like I've kind of matured a little bit, just with how I approach things, how I say things to people. And I don't know, it's probably last year in the offseason once I realized I was getting older. I can't just continue to do the same things that I used to do. I got to grow up a little bit. But yeah, that's probably when it happened.
How rewarding has that been? Just seeing guys really respect you, really take what you say for, to mean something huge, whether it's praise, whether it's criticism, help, or whatever that is. How does that affected you and continue to motivate you in those ways?
Oh, yeah, it's really motivating. You just got to look at it. Somebody's always following you. And just even in our running back room by itself, I just try to tell them, run hard, you know what I mean? Just because that's something I wish I would have learned earlier. Just don't be timid in the hole. Don't do simple things like that. Be smart on and off the field, stuff like that. So it's nice to see that when they finally take it and they understand what I'm trying to say, just like I wish somebody probably would have kind of told me earlier, kind of grow up faster. The faster you grow up, the quicker you'll be playing.
You still kept your edge.
Yeah, I ain't going to change.
Ben, I wanted to ask you about Ty also as part of the crew chief, so to see Ty in his group step into that leadership role as a guy on the offense. When did you kind of see it start to happen for him, and how valuable has he been for the entire offensive unit as he's taken on that?
Right, he's always been a vocal guy, and so for him to become into a leadership role has been huge for the offense, because we don't have as many, seniors on the offensive side of the ball, and so for him to do that to help us with seeing blocks and seeing it like a running back has been helpful for a crew chief for the tight ends, and so he's done a good job kind of maturing, like he said, this last year.
James, does it seem like 3 months since you played a football game, or does it just mean it feels like it's been forever since you guys played?
It feels like a while. I think we're slowly getting there where we're just really, really ready to go. And I think that we've been in this game plan for 2 weeks now. And I think, it's almost like we're back of our hands right now. We know it, and we're ready to just show it on Saturday. And, we got a whole nother week, though, so we got to take it one day at a time like we always have.
Ty, can you describe the physical talent that Christian brings out there? Granted, he's not as fast as you. Nobody is, but he's 6'3". Can you describe that, what that brings to him?
Nah, shoot. Christian, he probably is faster. I ain't gonna, hey, y'all heard it here. Christian is fast. Last game he showed it. I ain't seen nothing like that in a while, but it's nice to finally see him healthy, see him get out in space, something that we knew he was capable of, but he's never been healthy enough to show it. And he's still young, so that's the scary part. We got a lot of young guys on this offense and young guys on this team, and they're just going to continue to keep getting better.
And you've got a young guy, a question for James, you played with the number 25. What's your thoughts on how good Michael Tut's been this year?
Tut's a really good football player. He's been that way since he stepped on campus. I know he gave one of the best looks on scout team when he was a freshman. I know last year he was learning behind Robbie, and even when he got in the games, I know Western Illinois, his first play in, he got a pick. He's just always been a playmaker, and he lives and breathes football, and he's also young, and he's got 2 more years after this to really just come into his own and be one of the best safeties NDSU's ever had.
James, from a player standpoint, would you rather just play the week after the semifinals because you're rolling, or do you like the time off? Or?
It is what it is. We're going to do whatever we need to do because either way you're playing in a championship game. You can't really wish for much more. So whenever it is, we're going to be ready to play it.
Ty, the gentleman this last week that got your jersey and we'll watch you play in Frisco, can you just talk us through realizing what an impact you have to people with that experience?
Yeah, it's crazy because I didn't realize it, but my mom, she works for Friendship, and she's told me about Saidu for a while, but I've never got the chance to meet him. I've met some of her other clients, but I've never got the chance to meet him. But just seeing the impact, you don't realize sometimes the impact you have on people, kids, adults, whoever it is. And it's nice to see, you know what I mean? We get so lost in just being football players sometimes that we don't see how we affect people outside of football.
Ty, James mentioned routine as far as this week goes. How have you been able to adapt to this?
Oh, it's the same, yeah. It's the same through and through. I feel like we practice the same. We're going to play the same, play hard, play physical, and just hopefully come out with a win.
Ben, what's it mean for this year's team to have a chance to go undefeated in your senior season?
It's pretty special. Obviously, with the 12-0 regular season, it hasn't been done before, and so just to, I don't know, there's a lot of questions in the offseason, and so to hush those and humble those a little bit has been pretty cool, and just to go out on top would be a pretty special moment for this class.
When you have a frozen sewer vent, use the sewer skewer. It fits any size vent and can be left in year-round. So it's one and done when it comes to installation, making it so easy to protect your farm, ranch, or home. Visit sewerskewer.com to see their many locations.